cut off in the beginning. So I'm going to give it a few moments before we dive in. I was spent some time getting some things ready for you. This AM, it is going to be exciting. Oh, yeah. Okay. The lady asked me, I wrote a young gentleman, he wants to sell his car at the end of the year. I gave him my number and told him to hit me up whenever he's ready. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, I liked how it drive. I liked how it looked. I liked how it smelled. I liked how it felt, and I loved the space of the vehicle. And he had listed everything he had did on the car. It was telling me everything up front without me even mentioning I was looking for a vehicle. Okay. I got to the library. I said, it was 10:14. I said, I'm pulling up in 60 seconds. So they was ready for me when I walked through the door. Oh, it's been an active morning. I've been up a very long time. Let's see here. We are on spell 9, and for 40 money scriptures and 40 money spells. Oh, it is going to be a delicious, delicious day of knowledge. All right. And let's see here. You might want to get a pen and paper for this session. If you haven't been already. Don't mind me, I got some decaf I'm just going to sip on real quick. All right. Before we get started, we are grateful for a new day. Let's do some deep breaths. We're going to slow down for the moment. We are making time for ourselves. Inhaling life and letting go of everything that ends life, like fear mindset, scarcity mindset. Letting go of confusion, gaining clarity. Letting the outside world be just that while we concentrate on our inner world. All right. Welcome to the channel. We like witchcraft around here. So we're going to get into it, okay? Yeah. My name is Denelsia Walker. I am the author of 19 books on relationships, erotica, and spirituality. Okay. We're going to start with, and all of these are on Substack, by the way, if you want to get a little bit more in depth. I've been placing them on there daily as well as on my Skip website, which I have a blog on. Skip is for grants in case you are an entrepreneur and would like help or assistance with getting together your business plan, learning how to grant write, and it keeps you in touch with the latest grants that are available. Beautiful website. Easy on the eyes, because I have looked at some websites and my eyes have hurt after. The flow is gorgeous, and they're adding new amenities, treated like a hotel, all the time to help you better be successful in regards to your entrepreneurship. Okay? The scripture. Yesterday we said that God does not have a name. If it says God, it's automatically a lie, because God does not have a name. God is infinite and more vast than anything we can conceive or any man-made concept. That is what we have come to as of yesterday. But to put it in a where you understand it, we're going to say God. Okay? All right, so God, infinite source, gives you power to become rich. But remember the Lord your God, and Lord over here means cosmic law. It is He, remember God does not have a gender, who gives you the power to become rich, keeping the agreement, covenant, treaty, promised to your ancestors as it is today. And thou hast remembered Jehovah, for Jehovah who gives you the power to make wealth in order to establish covenant which has sworn to thee on this day. So Expanded Bible, Young Literal Translation, and I'm going to purposely leave out names and genders since we are referencing a spirit. And the last time I checked, spirits don't have any of those. You must remember cosmic law. I'm going to say your God, infinite source of abundance. This spirit is the one who gives ability to get wealth. If you do this, infinite source of abundance will confirm the covenant that has been made by oath to your ancestors, even as this spirit has to this day. New International Version. The Bible is full of spells. It's a spell book. One of the greatest spell books, one of the number one sold spell books in the world. Love the Bible, but you have to kind of read between the lines. We have lots to discuss. So let's talk about this next spell. Spell number 9 is magical consciousness. Notes on this spell. It's difficult, if not near impossible, to effectively practice magic without a magical consciousness. That is why mages throughout the centuries have read countless books on magic, not so much for the knowledge or exact steps of what to do, but more to allow the consciousness to be shaped and molded into a consciousness that can practice magic. Welcome to the channel. Let's cast some spells, shall we? So since you have to have a magical consciousness, and I read this right before coming in, I said, oh, I guess I should write down some things for you all before I get to my next destination, so you can have an idea of what you want to play with. in the magical realm. Cars and stuff 676. Hello, sweetness. I don't have diabetes, baby, and I'm not at risk for it. Hand breezy Jack. So thank you so much. But even if I did, I know witches who have written books on, doctors actually, how to get rid of your diabetes. You don't have to have diabetes. So, welcome to magic class. And when you hang with the coven, you learn quite a bit. So I started to write down all the magical books. Oh, turkey. Wait, YYH. W-Et. Wait, YYH. Welcome, darling. I'm going to share with you some of my library. Not all, because the library is very vast. So get your pens and papers out, and let's get busy. Now, most of these, because I had to look through my collection, I have on my Amazon. Whatever I don't have on my Amazon, I'll have to add later. But most of these are on my Amazon affiliates page. All right. So magical housekeeping. I used to work as an Airbnb owner. So, or host, I should say. So I had a book called Magical Housekeeping. One of the people who visited my Airbnb, a young black man who I ended up later hiring to do plumbing and services of that nature when I needed it around the house, who started out as a guest, him and his lovely lady. He said, I noticed some things about you, and you might want to read this book. I'm always around cleaning, airing out the house, singing to the plants, whipping up something in the kitchen, spraying stuff on the floor to make the aroma of the house and raise the vibration, things of that nature. So he gave me this book. It was called Wicca, Scott Cunningham. I read the book. I said, oh, I do most of this stuff in here. That's nice, but I don't feel like I'm a Wiccan. So I had a few friends that were reading some different books, and I'm nosy. So I looked at the title of the book. I went and go look stuff up. I said, you know what? That sounds delicious. Let me order the book. So the book was Sacred Woman by Queen Afu, and then Comedics, Tree of Life, and the Comedic Diet, Mutwa Ashby. And then Witchfire, James Clemens, because she was like, you ought to dig into the magical stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm with it. Let me go do that. In case you didn't know, this is the book we're in right now. And then I'm a Harry Potter fan. Any Harry Potter fans out there? Oh my gosh. They used to tell us at church that it was evil and that you should not go watch the movie or read the books. Totally out the window. I love Harry Potter. So, other books I've read that are in Valerie Love's collection: God Loves You, about copies for me and the family. 40 Money Spells, 40 Money Scriptures. That's one we're going through as well right now. 40 Money Mantras. We did that one earlier. I mixed it with Galactic birth codes. How to Be a Christian Witch, 13 Signs You Are a Witch, Spiritual Badassery. One I recently purchased was, and it was phenomenal, Church Lied, No Angels in the Bible, not like you think of angels. How to Unlock Your Birth Code, Decode Yourself, that talks about galactic signatures, which I did with funny 40 Money Mantras for the Galactic Soul. We went through galactic signatures. Spell casting for the Christian witch. Magical pairs for the Christian rich. I took a mastermind class from her. It says charge more in 30 days. So she went over the book with us in a few of her master classes. And then other books were that I bought that I didn't write down when I was going through things were Dark Night of the Soul. Life-changing. All right. Now, I've been reading the Bible with the Coven each day at 7 o'clock, by the way, a.m. That changes on the 1st of July. She'll be doing 7 p.m. She does have where you can still go to her Christian Witches Convention replay if you decide to. And what made me think of that is today's session, she showed off one of the wands that was provided to her by the lovely gentleman that lectured at the Jared at the Christian Witches Convention. We have finally completed this AM 2 Samuel 23 and 24, and I am so glad that we are done now with Samuel. We went ahead and talked about David's last words, and then we talked about Adino Isnite and the 800 people he knocked out in one time, hands frozen from the sword, slaying lions, and of course, they like to hate on the Egyptians in the Bible. I love Egyptian magic. All right. Let's see here. One of the first magic books that I personally bought when I first intentionally, I was like, hey, this Comedics thing, I don't know much about that. Let me call up one of my girls who's taken African traditional religions. I said, hey, I'm studying some Comedics. I wasn't reading tarot at this time. I could use a tarot, but I got readings like 2 to 4 times a year. I could use a reading. I need some information on this. I got with her. She was like, I don't know much about Comedics, but I know a lot about Orishas. And she said, go ahead, find you 2 decks that call your name, which I did, or find you a deck that called your name, and I picked out 2. And then her name was Victoria. And then she said, you might want to start with an encyclopedia to get to know some of these spirits better. And she kind of let me know a few names. So the first magic book I bought was called Encyclopedia of Spirits, Fairies, Demons, Ghosts, Gods, Goddesses, a complete reference to witchcraft and spiritual folklore and spirituality. That book is by Judica Iles, I-L-E-S. Okay. All right. So that was the very first, outside of the Bible, witchcraft book I bought. Then I said, okay, well, I like what I'm reading here. I can relate. I was taught how to do invocations. Let me write down invocations. I do have a couple invocations online on my Substack I could print. Invocations. And then after I did that, I said, I need to dig a little bit more in depth. So I bought 7 African Powers by Monique Leaner Joyner. And then I bought Orisha Goddesses and Voodoo Queens by Lilith Dorsey, which has recipes in it, by the way. And then for my tarot cards that called my name, that is by Andrew McGregor Abba Talimi. And then I bought the Nola Tarot deck by Luis Martini. I hope I said her name right. Or Sally Ann Glassman. Other books I like, so I got familiar with those decks. Now, I'll talk more about that here in a minute. Other magic books I like, Lesser Keys of Solomon. We're going to be diving more into Solomon in the Bible since he was just born in 2 Samuel. And I cannot wait because I love his magic. Okay? So, from the 7 African Powers book, I wrote my own. It's a little thick. And the reason I did is because I felt like things were scattered in regards to I didn't realize until after I was practicing with these deities that certain colors were matched to certain chakras. And I didn't understand I was doing candle magic, working with the chakras. I was doing crystal magic, aromatherapy magic. So I wanted it all combined in one place, which is how I got the 7 African Powers for Beginning Practitioners book. And so that way it wasn't all over the place and nobody had to wonder who, what, when, where, or how. So that's available on my Amazon. It is endorsed by New York Times bestselling author J.L. King. Now, when I read the NOLA tarot deck, first of all, I set my books on my magic books. I set on my ocean altar. Particles was the first one I learned. It wasn't difficult. Love the stories, beautiful storyline. The storylines are going to be different in different books, okay? And then when I read the NOLA Tarot deck, which took me a long time to read, years, because I opened it, I said, I don't understand none of what they're talking about. I looked at the book, I read the introduction, I read the first chapter. I said, I don't know what to do with this. I put it on my ocean altar. And so one day it was like, you're going to take that book out and get to learn it? I said, you know what? Matter of fact, I am. That's how I came out with my hexology. I felt like it was a lot crammed into one book for people who wanted options, who did not want to learn everything, or felt it very hard to learn everything out of this book, or that all that information was a challenge. I wanted to make it easier and not as much as a challenge. And that's how I came up with the hexology. With the first one talking about the 10 spirits, of Kabbalah, the tree of life, the Seraphont. The second one with the 4 worlds. The third one with the trumps, the 4 worlds of the tree of life. The third one with the trumps cards. The fourth one with the pips. So the trumps are the major arcana, 40 spirits in the deck, representing the 4, representing the wands, I want to call them cups. Wands, cups, swords, and the disc or pentacles, depending on whose cards you're utilizing. And then the 16 temple cards. the court cards is what they're known as well. So, and then for the 6 books, Gematria, well, we exist because of numbers, mathematics. So that talks about the sacred code of mathematics, and then it ties in all of the books together at the very end. So it talks about numerology and math in depth, okay? And what the Hebrew and how the Hebrew letters correspond. Now, one of the books that I read in the beginning that was suggested to me by the African traditional religions teacher, that's what she did at that time. She said to make sure I got into Kabbalah with the Hermetic principles, so I did that as well. And then, let's see here. Oh, and I am a huge Ephelius Levy fan. I've read Key of the Mysteries in total, and I am reading currently High Magic, which is absolutely delicious. To have something this old, to be able to go through it and link it to the Orishas or the Voodoo lineage has been a satisfying privilege for me. All right. So those are some of the magic books. Let's see here. I also have other books. Oh, Love Funk, Supreme Reign, Love Redefined, and Accentuating Curves and Assassination Hips. That's an erotica. 30 for 30. Wealth Reclamation, and then I do have journals based off of like Ace of Wands, and then I also have other magic books, Major Arcana Simplified. This is the 22 cards before I realized there was actually 23 cards. So out of the normal tarot deck versus the Voodoo deck, the Voodoo deck has 23 cards to match to the wild cards, which latches to the Barons and the Geeds and Dath, D-A-A-T-H. And then I do have 2 clip notes books that are ebooks. Gypsy Tarot off of the Patikas, which was the first stack I learned. And one deals with the court cards and one deals with the major and minor. Let's get into magical consciousness. Step 1, decide you will live as a magical being. Ooh. This could mean witch, wizard, magician, or fairy, or any other magical being you decide. Step 2, set a prayerful intention to allow your consciousness to be shaped and molded to a new magical pattern by stating, "It is my intention to live as a magical being. As such, I shall take full advantage of the mages who have gone before me by absorbing only the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that is for my highest and best good now." And allowing these to penetrate my thinking so that my mind is alchemized from muggle-mindedness to magical consciousness. Ooh, my toes just curled. All right. So, mote it be. Step 3. Begin a list of magical books you are led to read. Do not make this list from your head. You are being led by higher realms to the right books for you at the right time. Honor this truth, read the books, and allow your consciousness to transform. Ooh, delicious. So, I have given you books I read. From the books I have read, mine has transformed. As a result, I have published my own books based off learning from magical books that I have read. Hallelujah. Okay, now let's talk about magical consciousness. I wrote a spoken word piece the other day, and that I was going to share that with y'all today. So we're about to get into it. What I'm going to do, because there's a video going around of a young lady saying that she's tired of a few things. I'm going to give you a reactive version of my immediate thoughts when I listen to this video. Then I'm going to give you the version of how your magical consciousness that you now have is different than the version of you that you started with. Okay? That way, I'm going to call the first version my hood version. A lot of times, African Americans, especially when in the workplace, we've got to learn how to code switch, boo. So, we're going to do some code switching. One moment, I'm going to throw away this real quick. Bring the trash can here. All right. I'm watching the time. The young lady in the video made a few complaints. She called what she experienced white racism. This is the hood version. Woo! I watched the video today. A white lady looking into her camera telling the world she is sick and tired of white racism, tired of violence toward her people. And I sat there listening to the dialect. Watching the mechanics, the mannerism, the cadence, the rhythm fortune, our fire bar to complain about her smoke. And before we could even talk about the history, let's talk about the property, the dialect, the tools. Yeah, we are going to need to snatch back all inventions, sash, and coins right back immediately now. Thank you kindly. But let's get some clarity. It's privilege, audacity, and entitlement. Because you say you are tired, so I need to know the nature of your exhaustion. Are you tired of racism on the clock, on the job, and the spreadsheet? Are you tired of being followed on the drive home just because of the tone of your skin? Are you tired of waiting on an approval letter just to live where you live, to go to the school you choose? Are you tired of the salary, the one that automatically yields a higher percentage, the upgrades on the floor simply because of the pigment? Let's talk about the timeline, because not much has changed in almost 5 decades. Let's talk about the grocery stores where dogs were allowed before black folks were. Which fountain did you drink from? Which door did you walk through to get dinner? When they handed out the awards, did you have to sit in the back? You are sick and tired, you say. You're sick of feeling guilty for something you had nothing to do with, but let's talk about what was done. Your ancestors didn't cross an ocean upside down. They didn't sit in the hulls of ships drowning in disease, filth, vomit, menses, and diarrhea, eating rotting garbage. They didn't see precious cargo called bodies, called kin, called human beings, tossed into the Atlantic for insurance payout. Their women weren't taken advantage of as a business model. Their men weren't bucked to break their spirit. You are tired. It is the current privilege that's wearing you down. The fact that your children can walk and live anywhere on this green earth without the background hum of terror just because they are lily white. Did somebody bully you like Carmelo Anthony at the meet, or did someone decide your life was worth less than a bottle of water that you didn't even steal like Cypress Carmack Belton, and now you think you know the weight of the press? No. If you are tired, it isn't from the marching, it isn't from the boycotting, it isn't from the teeth of the dogs or the pressure of the fire hoses. It's not from the redlining, the eminent domain, the Crown Act, the constant surveillance, or the systemic slaying of your image on the evening news. The Civil Rights Act, women's rights, LGBT rights all had to be fought for. But you know what? You are correct. I agree. Enough is enough. You feel those guilt feelings, you should, because you and your fellow folks who are sick and tired today should have been sticking up for everyone a long time ago, but you did not. And now Babylon is on fire, and division, especially as a white female, should be the absolutely last thing on your mind, because the white narcissism from the men of your house are having their way. And you forget you are on the same list. It's coming for you. Let's be clear, the problem is not African Americans, blacks, or any other person of color. We do not start global wars with what money? We do not write a war manual, fill it with blood, and call it a holy Bible instead of a horror Bible. Racism, that is a coin coined by your people to go against equality and humanity. What you are feeling isn't oppression, it's hurt feelings, it's discomfort, and all of it is declined going forward. You have not held the weight of those tarot cards. You don't know the reversed emperor, the panic of your forced control fracturing. You are living the Four of Swords, a false privileged performance of being tired. You are screaming at the reverse tower because you fear the collapse of Babylon. You are acting through the reversed high priestess, stealing our dialect and mechanics before you have no spiritual depth of your own to stand on. No reparations is not what I'm talking about. We can create our own 40 acres and a mill. We are casting our own spells right now. The era of shenanigans and lives lost across all colors is over. It is time for growth, truth, and elevated consciousness across this globe. We all have a voice. Now that you have used yours, you have done us a great service. You have helped us see the landscape perfectly. The problem is not us. It never was. That was my hood version. I'm going to give you my upgraded magical consciousness version. Whew! I watched a video today. A woman stared into a camera and told the world she was sick and tired of racism against white people, tired of violence against her people. And I listened, not just to words, but to the cadence, the cadence, the mechanisms, the rhythm. Before we even discuss the history, let's discuss the language, because language carries lineage. The dialects, expressions, art forms, cultural innovations, and social movements that shape modern culture did not appear from nowhere. They were forged through generations of struggle, adaptation, survival, and creativity. Much of what the world consumes today was born from communities that were once denied full participation in the very societies they helped build. So when someone says they are tired, I want to understand the architect of the exhaustion, the nature of exhaustion. Tired from what? Housing. Are you tired of being denied housing because of your skin color? Surveillance, tired of being followed through stores. Opportunity, tired of watching opportunity disappear because a name, a neighborhood, or a complexion made someone uncomfortable. Humanity, tired of waiting for systems to recognize your humanity. History matters because memory matters. Not long ago, there were places where Black Americans could not eat, sleep, learn, vote, work, or live freely. The divided ledger. There were schools divided by law, fountains divided by law, neighborhoods divided by law, opportunity divided by law, human value divided by law. The consequences of those systems did not vanish simply because legislation changed. The ledger remains, guilt versus responsibility. You say you are tired of feeling guilty for things you did not personally do. Fair enough. No one should inherit personal guilt for actions they never committed, but responsibility and guilt are not the same thing. A society can acknowledge injustice without a demanding personal shame. A society can tell the truth without assigning collective damnation. The question is not whether people alive today built those systems. The question is whether they are willing to recognize the systems that were built in the ways that continue to shape outcomes. Because the people who marched were tired, the people who faced police dogs were tired, the people who endured fire hoses, bombings, lynching, segregation, exclusion, and disenfranchisement were tired. The women who fought for the vote were tired. The LGBT community that fought for recognition and safety were tired. Progress was never arrived because discomfort demanded it. Oh no. Progress arrived because discomfort could no longer be ignored. The blueprint for repair. And yet, despite all this, the answer cannot be more division. The answer cannot be contempt. The answer cannot be endless cycles of grievance competing against grievance. We are living through a moment when many people feel threatened, displaced, unheard, or afraid. Some fear losing privilege. Others fear losing rights. Many fear losing the future altogether. But fear is a poor archetype, the pillars of the new structure. Love builds better structures. Truth builds stronger foundations. Accountability builds healthier communities. If we are serious about creating a better world, then the goal is not revenge. The goal is repair. The goal is growth. The goal is honest reckoning with history while refusing to become prisoners. Alternative. We all have a voice. The question is what we choose to do with it. We can weaponize it or we can use it to understand one another. The problem has never been ordinary people trying to live, work, love, and belong. The problem is what happens when fear becomes policy, when power becomes entitlement, and when humanity becomes conditional. Instead of calling one another trolls, enemy, or threats, perhaps we should try something far more radical. Listening. That'd be a good start. Be a great start. Not listening is why we are where we are right now. And maybe after that, love. How about that? All right. Prayers for Carmelo Anthony and Cyrus Carmack Belton. I'm going to end today's live, my loves, on that note. I'll be back tomorrow about 10:15 a.m. I look forward to hearing later on. I'm on IG. How you, these magical books, what you got, what you're doing with them. Looking forward to tomorrow. That kind of thing. Okay? All right. I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your Thursday. Mwah.